Imagination can rock your world. Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. Today's discussion, imagination can rock your world. You know, most of us discount our imaginations because society convinces us that what appears in our imaginations is not real. Hard-nosed realists love to use the words like it's just your imagination or it's all in your head. But in truth, those so-called realists are actually victims of their own narrow vision and are actually trapped in the prison of the powerless. They're immersed in the quicksand of the false belief that what they perceive as reality is all there is. As a result, they will never, ever experience the joy and wonder of seeing their powerful imaginations morph into physical reality. It happens. So let's start with the question, what is real? What is reality? Well, one definition is that reality is the totality of all things, structures, actual and conceptual, events, past and present, and phenomena, whether observable or not. Now, most people perceive reality as whatever their physical senses can perceive. So whatever they can see or touch or hear or smell or taste is real. The trouble with that is that human eyes are only able to see less than 1% of all light that reaches us because the visible spectrum of light is very narrow. Light is got a wide spectrum, and we only see a very tiny sliver of it. The human ear can only hear sounds in the 20 to 20,000 cycle per second range, whereas animals can hear sounds way below that range, and humans can't. Porpoises can hear sounds way below the human range, and porpoises can hear also frequencies that are significantly higher in frequency than humans can possibly hear. We hear this, they hear this. Therefore, the narrow definition of reality based on our senses leaves out 99% of what is actually going on around us. 99%. So the first thing you got to realize is that when you're thinking about or discussing imagination, is that those who discount your imagination as not being valid or being of little value basically don't know what they're talking about. Please click on the thumbs up button, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. Thank you to those of you who have already subscribed. I really appreciate your support. Remember, I would love to hear your thoughts and your comments and your questions, so please use the chat box on the right side of the screen or the comment section below the video. Okay, so imagination is a visual medium. That is, it usually appears in your mind as pictures. That's why people like to discount imagination as only being in our head, because we're seeing the pictures in the head. But here's the kicker. Most of us would agree that if we can see it and measure it, then it's real, right? Except that's not exactly true. According to scientific studies, what we supposedly see with our eyes in reality is actually a construct. It's what our brain is constructing based on the input from our senses. It's not like we see in a photograph, you know, it's a photograph here and it automatically goes, no. What we see is actually based on complex calculations inside our brain that are interpreting the information coming into our optic nerve, just like ones and zeros go into a computer to create what we see on the computer. Hey, data comes into our optic nerve and our computer translates it into a visual image. We have to train ourselves to see. That's why babies stare so much, because they're learning how to construct the visual imagery of what's going on around them. So contrary to popular belief, Our interpretations, our visual interpretations are not clear and they're not objective. What we see with our eyes is affected by our belief systems, our training, our experiences. That's why different people can watch the same events and see something different. That's why eyewitness accounts are not always reliable, because our belief system and our conditioning changes what we're looking at to fit our preconceived notions of what we should be seeing. That's why the little challenges on the internet, like the one that asks, what color is this dress? They have so many people disagreeing. Why? Because nobody sees the same thing in the same way. We all see things a little differently because our brains are recalculating. Our brains are interpreting. So we discount imagination because it's not real, but the truth of the matter is that nothing that comes into existence comes in without imagination. Imagination is the most powerful force in the universe, and a spiritual warrior learns to use imagination as the powerful tool that it really is. Albert Einstein said that imagination is everything. It's the preview of life's coming attractions. He used his imagination to explore the unknown. Einstein actually imagined himself traveling at the speed of light. And as he was traveling at the speed of light, in his imagination, he looked around him as he was traveling to see what was happening around him. How were things reacting around him? And when he came back from his imaginary trips at the speed of light, he was able to create his famous theory of relativity, which changed the world of physics. Imagination. When advocating the power of imagination, Einstein went on to say, imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world. Neville Goddard, the visionary metaphysical teacher of the early 20th century, said, imagination is God. Neville Goddard taught that our imaginations are our deeper inner consciousness communicating with us, and that deep inner consciousness is actually universal consciousness, and universal consciousness is actually infinite intelligence, and infinite intelligence is actually God. Invention after invention after invention was based on imagination. Every new breakthrough and forward progress brought about by new ideas are the result of imagination. Elias Howe, the guy who invented the sewing machine, when he worked on it, he had a big problem because he couldn't figure out what to do with the needle. The needle wasn't right. It wasn't working. The needle had to be able to insert the thread into the cloth, anchor it, and then move on to the next stitch. He couldn't get it to do that. He couldn't figure out how to do that. But finally, in a dream, he saw himself being attacked by a hostile jungle tribe. And as he reviewed the dream, he noticed that their spears, all of their spears, had holes in the tips of their spearheads. So when he awoke, he realized that the hole in the needle had to be at the tip of the needle instead of at the back end of the needle like a hand needle. And it worked. When Thomas Edison worked on his inventions, he devised a way to tap into his imagination to help him solve problems. What he would do was that he would lay down and take a nap. He had a cot in his laboratories. And he didn't want to go deeply into his nap. He just wanted to go to the edge of his nap. So what he would do was he would hold a ball in his hand when he would lay down to take a nap. And since he only wanted to go to the level where he would enter the dream state, when he went deeper, when he would really start to go into sleep, he would drop the ball, and it would wake him up. And then he could use what he had seen in his dream to solve his problems. Very powerful. Hi, kitty. I give credit to my imagination for many of my successes. When I was a writer in advertising, whenever I got stuck for ideas, I would grab a writing pad, leave my office, and hop on a bus. Somehow the motion of the bus would stimulate my imagination, and when I got back to the office, I would have the ideas I needed written on my pad. There have been instances when I was confronted by a problem that required a mechanical solution. So what I would do is I would sit for a while and relax, looking at the problem before me, and eventually my imagination would begin to solve the problem. It would begin to show me visually what I needed to do to fix the problem, how to make it work. Science supports that, by the way. Science supports that concept in what I call applied imagination. There was a study by Dr. Alan Richardson at the University of Western Australia. He set up 3 groups of basketball players. The first group was instructed to physically practice shooting the ball for a period of 30 minutes every day for 30 days. The second group was directed to practice shooting the ball every day for 30 minutes for 30 days, but only in their imagination. They were to sit there quietly, and they were to see themselves shooting the ball and making the shots. If they missed, then they were to make corrections mentally until they succeeded in making the shots. And they would do it over and over again for the prescribed amount of 30 minutes for 30 days. The third group got no practice at all. They didn't think about it. They didn't shoot any basketballs. They just went on about their day. At the end of 30 days, well, first of all, they were tested at the beginning of the experiment to see what their skill level was. And then they were tested again at the end of the 30-day period to see if there had been any improvement. Well, the first group that had physically practiced improved their success rate of making the baskets by 24%. The second group, who had practiced only in their minds, showed an improvement of 23%. The third group, who didn't practice, didn't have any improvement whatsoever, but they weren't supposed to. So, why did those who only used their imagination improve almost as much as the ones who did the actual physical practice? Well, the first thing you have to remember is that in the world of imagination, your brain doesn't really know the difference between imagination and so-called reality. Your brain doesn't know. Why? Because what you see in real life and what you see in your imagination are created in your brain using the same mechanism to formulate the images that you see. So your brain constructs reality using data from real life or from imagination. It doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know the difference. So, if you use your imagination to build images of something you really want to see in your life, and if you build those images with passion and energy and belief, and you build those images with as many sensory aspects as you can muster, that means, how does it feel to be there? What sounds would you hear? Would there be a smell that you might detect? If you apply your imagination like that and you do it over and over enough times, you know what will happen? You will attract that imaginary situation to yourself to become physical reality. Remember, the universe is made up of energy. The universe is vibrating all the time. All the things that exist are made of energy. All the things that exist are made of vibration. So in the world of energy, everything is in motion. So to you, it looks solid and permanent, but it is not. Believe me, it is not. So, my fellow spiritual warriors, I urge you to stop the destructive practice of shutting yourself down by saying it was just my imagination. No. Because your imagination is a powerful tool of manifestation. Believe in it. Trust it. Use it for good. Tomorrow we'll talk more about how to empower your imagination as a tool for growth. In the meantime, forgive others, forgive yourself in order to remove all the internal blockages that you have. And then imagine. Let's close with prayer. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence. Thank you for bringing all of us together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we're beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. We know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we are now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this, we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Again, thank you for watching. Remember to click on the thumbs up button below. And if you haven't already done so, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. Remember, I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts, your suggestions, your questions. So please use the comment section below the video. In the meantime, remember, we're coming back tomorrow to talk further about imagination. So thank you for watching. Remember, I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.